Hello, everyone, and welcome to a rather last-minute live stream from dealing with the Disney earnings call. A lot of interesting stuff in here. I really wanted to get out quickly and talk about this stuff. I'm Pete Werner. If you don't know who I am, Bob Varley Studio, blah blah blah. You want to learn about that stuff? Watch one of the other videos. Okay, really interesting. Really interesting information here. So let me start with their earnings. Parks and Experiences had an operating loss of $406 million in the second quarter. Now remember, Disney's second quarter is January through March. Their first quarter begins October 1st and ends December 31st. That's the way their accounting works. So for the beginning of this year, $406 million lost in Parks and Experiences. The estimate was $369 million. So it was worse than expected. Now, Parks and Experiences includes not just theme parks, but Aulani, Disneyland, cruise line, all of that is considered. So it's kind of understandable, this loss. I don't think their stock is going to necessarily do great with that information, but they did talk about Disney Plus having had has now 94.9 million subscribers. On January 2nd of 2021, they had 94.9 million. They have surpassed 100 million as per their March 9th investors call. As of April 3rd, the subscriber count was at 103.6 million. That was below the 110 million they expected. Overall revenue down nearly 2.5 billion to $3.17 billion in the second quarter. Last year, 5.66 billion. So they've taken a hit. They lost 2.5 billion. But okay, so that's like the basics. Here's the stuff I'm paying attention to from theme park perspective. Bob Chapek said most recently at Disneyland, we were able to quickly recall more than 10,000 furloughed cast and retrain them to be able to operate to the state of California's new health and safety requirements. We continue to see strong growing demand from consumers as we are at or near our reduced capacity levels at Walt Disney World and Disneyland for the current quarter. And then he went on to say, he was asked about, I'm just trying to get my notes here in front of me. He was asked about the capacity limits at Walt Disney World, and this is where it got pretty interesting. He said, quote, in terms of the parks, and when we're going to sort of be able to raise our capacity limits, we've actually already started that, given the guidance that just came today from the CDC and earlier guidance that we got from the governor of Florida. So before I go on with that, if you have not been paying attention to the news, the CDC said today that if you are vaccinated, it is okay for you to not wear your mask, indoors or out. Now, obviously, private property, private company, individual companies can set mask requirements, and they're well within their right to do so. But this was a huge announcement, and the fact that Chapek is mentioning this in this earnings call, I mean, it literally came out this afternoon. He went on to say, today's guidance that we got from the CDC in terms of those that were vaccinated do not necessarily need to wear masks anymore, both outdoors and indoors. This is very big news for us, particularly if anybody's been in Florida in the middle of summer with a mask on. That could be quite daunting. Really, Bob? Really? Wow, we didn't know that. So we think that's going to make for an even more pleasant experience. And we believe that as we're now bringing back a lot of people to work, that it's going to be an even bigger catalyst for growth. Now, let's pay attention to that line. Now, I'm just quoting him here. We think that when he talks about Florida in the middle of summer with a mask on, could be quite daunting. So we think that's going to make for an even more pleasant experience. Now, I don't think I have to be a psychic to assume that Disney might start lifting mask mandates in the parks. I mean, I don't know any other way to read that. I mean, he didn't say that. He didn't come right out and say it, but he's alluding to it. He's alluding to it. And there will be a cheer. There will be a cheer across the land if that happens. He also mentioned that 80% of the Disney cast members that were asked to return have returned to work. Then he went on to this. Disneyland people, gird your loins. And as you all know, we ended our current annual pass program at Disneyland, and that gives us a chance to sort of create a modern version of a park loyalty program, an affinity program that isn't necessarily governed by legacy. Isn't necessarily governed by legacy. I'm intrigued. Go on, Bob. I don't think we've even scratched the surface in terms of what we can do when we finally restart with some of our programs in terms, and here it is, in terms of making sure, again, not only do we improve the guest experience, but at the same time, we get an adequate return to our shareholders for the type of experience that we do give to our guests. Disneyland people, there's not going to be any lube. Okay? This is going to be, I'll stop short of the phrase I want to use, but you probably get my drift. Whatever program comes back is going to be a lot more expensive than the one that just went away. And it's probably going to be multi-tiered, where the top tier comes with a mortgage application. It's not like they were cheap before. And when he is talking about bringing back we haven't even scratched the surface, okay, of what we can do when we restart some of our programs. And I don't think Disney World people are out of the loop on this. I don't think we're going. I think when we see annual passes come back here, I think we're going to see something along these lines. So, because let's go back a few minutes, if you will. Let's go back in history a few minutes. Disney Parks Experience and Products lost $406 million in the second quarter. The company has lost billions in COVID. And then I don't think we've even scratched the surface in terms of what we can do when we finally restart with some of our programs. Translated, we want our money back. We want our money back. And I think the first place we're going to see that is in is when these annual passes come back, whenever that is. But I'm telling you, if we're now, he's saying that they've already begun raising capacity. I have to assume now that the 35% cap has moved probably to 50. I don't know that for a fact. That's a guess. But I would imagine that would be the next step. And then given the CDC guidance this year, or today, that vaccinated people can stop wearing masks indoors and out. And I'm not going to get into the science on that. I'm not a scientist, but that's what the CDC said. In a nutshell, there was more to it, but in a nutshell, that's basically what they're saying. Chapek quoting this, referencing it the way he is, from the CDC and earlier guidance that we got from the governor of Florida. We've already started to increase our capacities, talking about it would be more pleasant in the summer in the theme parks if we didn't have to wear masks. I'm guessing he's not being rhetorical with that. I'm guessing that's a wink and a nod. That's a wink and a nod that, I mean, it's possible this summer we might see a loosening of the mask requirements at Walt Disney World. And I'm wondering, because the CDC is saying vaccinated individuals, and the state of Florida is prohibiting companies from requiring people to show proof of vaccination in order to receive service. This is one of the big issues right now with cruise lines. That Florida has put this order into effect, and some cruise lines are saying, yeah, well, we're going to sail out of New Jersey then, because we're not letting people on the ship unless they can prove they've been vaccinated. So I wonder how Disney is going to thread this particular needle. Are cast members going, and again, just speculating, this is all speculation, but like if they start, letting people not wear masks, their cast member is going to start going up to people going, show me your ID, show me your vaccine card. I don't see how that works. But I'm some really intriguing stuff here. Some really, really intriguing stuff here. No surprise in the loss of revenue. We all expected that. It was larger than what analysts had predicted. But the big news here is the wink and the nod towards potentially relaxing mask standards or mask requirements in the parks. And again, he didn't say that. I'm reading between the lines. I see no other reason why this man would have brought up what the CDC just announced today. Because saying vaccinated people indoors and out, and they can be in. I'm getting updates from Jackie as we do this. So I'm intrigued to see that. She's saying more good news. Disney Plus, 20th Century's Free Guy and Marvel's Shang-Chi will be released with a 45-day exclusive theatrical release. I don't know what any of those words mean, but maybe you do. And Jackie is sending them to me, and so I'm throwing it out there. But interesting information on this. Wanted to make sure we talked about it a little bit. We will have more for you on this on Tuesday on the next episode of the Diz Unplugged. So that is going to do it for this little update. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you soon.